Metal Jesus, I'm back again in my game room. Now, since my last pickups video, I've actually added over 120 games to my collection, and that's a combination of going out on Saturday mornings to garage sales. It was garage sale season just here in Seattle. The weather was nice, and you get up on Saturday morning and go out, and I always found stuff. And also, a bunch of people have generously donated to my collection. Now the thing is, this video is not going to show all 120 of those games. Frankly, most people wouldn't really care. So what I've done is actually pulled out what I think are the more kind of interesting and unusual games. So not everything's kind of rare, but I think they're kind of cool. So let's not waste more time and take a look. Okay, so where do I start? Well, I guess I'm gonna start with something that I actually didn't know that much about until I found it at a garage sale, and that is the Pokemon Mini. This is like a little handheld, and it has these little cartridges that pop in the back. And you know what? I didn't know that much about this little thing, and the guy sold it to me for just a couple bucks, and I bought it on a whim. And you know, pretty much if it says Pokemon on it, I'm gonna buy it, you know, especially if it's cheap. And I don't know anything about it. I don't know how collectible they are. If you know something about the Pokemon Mini and the cartridges and all that stuff, let me know. I played around with it a little bit, and it seems like it's full of, I guess, mini games. So, I don't know. Next up, at an estate sale, I got lucky and I actually found some games there for relatively cheap. And I found a copy of Star Ocean: The Second Story. I rarely find these out in the wild. It seems like people who have these games, they know what they have, and they're usually trying to get top dollar. Thankfully, at this estate sale, I bought it, I think, for $10, which, you know, is a lot for a garage sale, estate sale, but still, it's a good deal. And, you know, admittedly, I don't know very much about the Star Ocean series, but I know a lot of people love them. So, you know, actually, I would like to dig in and play this. Also, while at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I found a copy of the collector's edition of the Grand Theft Auto series for the PlayStation 1. Now, the reason why I was looking for this is because ultimately I'd like to do a really big retrospective on the Grand Theft Auto series. I'm covering, you know, cover everything. So you cover everything from these, which were the top-down ones, to, you know, the ones that they put out on handhelds, like the PSP, to everything. And I think that'd be kind of a cool video to do. So I was looking to add this to my collection. Now, speaking of Grand Theft Auto, I'm sure many of you, like me, are playing Grand Theft Auto 5. I have this for the PlayStation 3 here. And, man, I have to say, I am not disappointed. A funny thing about the Grand Theft Auto games is that I've never finished one. And typically it's because I get to a point where one of the missions is maybe a flying mission or something where I just can't beat it. And so I always get stuck, and I just, you know, you just kind of drive around and wreak havoc, and then you just kind of get bored with it. And so the reason why I mention that is because I think I'm going to finish this one, and the reason for that is it has a feature which I really like, and that is if you get really stuck and if you fail a mission 3 times, it'll let you skip it. Now, it will give you a bronze rating, which is not great, but at least it'll let you continue on with the game. Because, you know, sometimes people are good at the driving, but maybe not the shooting, or maybe they're good at the flying, you know, parts of the game. And so, anyways, I'm just loving this game. I'm blown away by it. It's so hilarious. I can't say enough great things about it. I'm almost through the single player, and I'm going to dive into the online. I think that's going to be really, really awesome. One of my favorite parts of the Portland Retro Gaming Expo is that the awesome site Atari Age makes a presence there, and they actually have a huge booth filled with homebrew games, and they do an excellent job. And so that was one of the first places that Drunken Master Paul and I went to, and he bought, and thankfully I get to keep in my collection because I keep all his games here, and that is Halo 2600. Been looking for a copy of this for a while, and I'll tell you what, man, this box is beautiful and it's cool. It comes with a manual, comes with a cart, of course, and I played a little bit of this, and you know, I don't know if the game is necessarily great, but still, it's awesome that they made Halo for the 2600. In addition to that, a game I was really excited for, and that is a game called Space Rocks, and this is by Spiceware. Now, what's really neat about this is that if you grew up with the 2600 back in the day, you know that the original Asteroids was a kind of mediocre port. I mean, I played it to death as a kid, but it had some kind of annoying parts about it where, like, for instance, the asteroids weren't randomized. They weren't moving all over the field. Also, the graphics were, yeah, they're kind of flickery and things like that. This homebrew fixes all of that. And I got it signed by the guy who actually programmed it, which is pretty cool. He was there. And, you know, one of the interesting things I asked him, like, how did you do it? How did you pack all of that arcade awesomeness into the, you know, the weak Atari 2600? And he told me a really interesting thing, that they basically include on the cartridge basically an ARM processor, a CPU that's used in a lot of cell phones. And so all of the hardcore programming is actually being done on that, and then it outputs to the 2600. So anyways, I thought that was pretty cool to talk to that guy for a while, and this is definitely a great homebrew. And then also I met up with John Hancock, my buddy John Hancock, the Immortal, and he gave me my copy of a homebrew that he made last year called Road Warriors. And he and his buddy made this entire game, and it's cool because there's a ton of really cool stuff in here. So the game's all original, and then it also comes with like a little power pellet, comes with a Matchbox car, a printed manual, all this cool stuff, and there's a soundtrack that my band is on. So that was pretty cool. That was our little donation to that project, and that was definitely awesome. Moving on to the PlayStation 2, I have a stack of games here. Now, a fan of my channel, his name is Adam, sent me a bunch of stuff, some plug and plays, and he included a PlayStation 2 game I didn't own called Shadow of Destiny. Now, I think this is kind of a, I want to say it's a puzzle, maybe survival horror game. I don't really know much about it, so I think recently they remade this on the PSP, if I'm not mistaken, but it's cool to own that. Thank you, Adam. Also added a couple games to my collection. Rogue Trooper. Now, a couple people have sent me messages saying that this game is a total hidden gem. It looks completely generic, so I can see why maybe it didn't sell very well, but I don't know. A lot of people have told me this is a hidden gem, so I can't wait to dig into that. Rogue Trooper. Also found a game I've been looking for a while. It's called Sky Odyssey, and this is a flight game similar to maybe like Crimson Skies, but I think it's a little bit more kind of realistic. So I don't know, I actually played quite a bit of it the other night and enjoyed it a lot. Looks like it's got a lot of variety in it. And I also picked up a game, Alien Hominid, and I believe this is the same people who made Castle Crashers. So it's cool to get this. I know a lot of people love this game. I think it's just kind of like a beat 'em up, so cool to own. This is I think it's like an adventure RPG game I've been looking for a while. Okanage? Shadow King? Oh, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Okage? I have no idea. But Pete Dorr loved this game, and I've been looking for it for a while. Cool to add that. Another kind of wacky game I've been looking for a while is Mr. Mosquito, where you play as a mosquito that's bugging the hell out of this family in Japan. This is pretty weird. This is definitely a weird game, but I like kind of weird games, and so it's cool to get that. I don't know if I'm gonna do an I Hate You with this or what. I need to do some video dedicated specifically to this. Maybe I'll do a video dedicated to wacky Japanese games or something like that. I don't know. It'll show up at some point. And then finally for the PlayStation 2, a game actually I've been looking for quite a while. It's not like it's rare. As a matter of fact, I think it's just a really cheap game, but I was looking for a really good copy of it because I played it back in the day. I actually reviewed it years and years ago, and that's called Kill Switch. Now, I think when this came out, it was one of the first cover-based shooter games for this generation. And I remember the first time I played it, actually, I was kind of blown away by it. I mean, it's just like a really decent cover-based shooter game. So, I don't know, and then for whatever reason I traded it years ago, and so it's just one of those games where it's just often overlooked. I think I paid $2 for it. It's not like it's expensive or anything, but still cool to own. While at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, Sean, who runs the Commodore Group down in Vancouver, Washington, hooked me up with a ton of great stuff. And the thing, though, I was really excited about was, in my last pickups video, I mentioned that I was really looking for a specific Game Boy Advance, and he had an extra one that he sold me for really cheap, and that is the SpongeBob SquarePants Game Boy Advance. Now, This is in fantastic condition. He actually sold it to me for a really, really good price. He gave me a hell of a deal because these things are kind of collectible. And the reason why I wanted it was, one, it just looks really cool, but this is one of the few that has that really bright backlit screen. And so in addition to be kind of an interesting variant on the Game Boy Advance, it just has a beautiful screen. It's in great condition. So he sold it to me for a fantastic price. I really appreciate that, Sean. And I'm actually going to show more of the stuff that he hooked me up with at that expo later. But since we're talking about the Game Boy Advance, here's some games I got recently, just at local stores and pawn shops. The Pinball of the Dead. This is a custom case here, by the way, if you're wondering what this is. This is a DS case, but Pinball of the Dead. I mean, who knew that this was going to be such a cool game? And it turns out that it actually really is, it's a fun game on the Game Boy Advance. So I got this. Also picked up a game that a lot of people recommended. It's a little bit of a hidden gem, and that is Lady Sia? C-A? I don't know. My pronunciations are terrible, but it's a really cool 2D platformer. I actually played quite a bit of this, and again, really, really fun. You guys know that I love big box PC games. Well, when I first got to the expo in Portland, I just ran through the entire hall looking for anybody that had games I was looking for, and thankfully I found a bunch, including an RPG I've been looking for quite a while. That's Lands of Lore, The Throne of Chaos. Big old box here, it's awesome. And what's cool about this is that it's actually a really decent RPG. I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it. Now they've made 3 of these, so they kind of pumped out 1, 2, and 3, and then it just sort of died off. I don't know what happened to it. This is really cool because it's the CD-ROM version that comes with Patrick Stewart from Star Trek Next Generation.
Because of the threat from Scotia, I have an urgent need for the Ruby of Truth. Please retrieve it from Roland's estate in the Southland and return it to Gladstone.
This is a really high-quality RPG back in the day, and it's cool to have that in my collection. Also, I found a bunch of Sierra games I've been looking for. I used to own all of these, and like an idiot, I got rid of them. So I've been buying back Sierra games, including Leisure Suit Larry 2, Looking for Love in Several Wrong Places. I don't think I've ever played this game. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know. I think it's kind of like one of those that people don't really talk about, but it's Leisure Suit Larry, man. You got to go for it. Speaking of Sierra, I love this box, and that is for King's Quest VI, Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow, or Error Today, I guess, Gone Tomorrow. This is the 3.5-inch floppy version, which I think is the reason why we made it in red. Basically, when you're collecting for this game, there's 3 box colors, and so you'll see that online, and I'm pretty sure we did that depending on the format it was on. So whether it was, I think, 5 1/4, and also probably CD-ROM eventually. But anyways, this is the red version, which is actually my favorite. Another RPG that I've been looking for quite a while, especially in this big box version, is Nox. Another Westwood Studios game, who knew? But you know what? Back in the day, Westwood Studios put out really high quality games, and this is definitely one of them. Now this is I guess, it's similar to Diablo or Diablo 2. It's definitely one of those kind of isometric top-down view of games, and so really high quality. It's actually really funny, and this, I saw this at one of the booths at Portland, and I had to have it, so cool to have in my collection. And then finally, a fan of my channel, his name's Noah, sent me a box with some really interesting stuff in it. I'm only going to highlight one of them. And he asked me if I'd ever heard of it before, and I was like, nah, it doesn't sound familiar. Well, it's pretty cool. It's the CyberPad controller plus Doom 2 sealed. So it's just one of those weird kind of marketing things that they did, and I don't know, I'd love to open it and see what's all in this box, but the fact it has Doom 2 in it, and I guess a controller designed for it, or at least, I don't know, I mean, it's just definitely kind of weird and wacky, and, perfect for my collection. Thanks, Noah. Oh man, I love the Dreamcast, and I really love some of the shooters on there, like Mars Matrix and also Gunbird and stuff like that. So I've been looking for a Dreamcast arcade stick forever, and the first night that I went to Portland, there it was, and Matt from actually Another Castle, one of the local stores here, sold it to me. Now it's a little bit yellow, so it's not, it's not like perfect, it's not in the box, but you know what, I don't care, because I collect to play, and oh yeah, I've actually been playing with this for quite a bit since I got home. So awesome to finally own the Dreamcast arcade stick. And speaking of Dreamcast, I did find one Dreamcast game, Heavy Metal Geomatrix, which I watched a video on somebody's channel recently about this game, and it looked pretty cool. And it's got heavy metal, which I'm a big fan of the magazine. And so, I don't know. You know, who knows if this is any good. I guess it's got music by Megadeth, Rob Halford, probably some other dudes in there. So, yeah, kind of cool. You guys know that I like to collect plug-and plays. Yes, I'm one of those weird collectors that likes to collect plug-and plays. And recently, I mentioned that I was looking for the elusive Commodore 64 plug-and play. It's actually kind of hard to find in the wild. It's kind of collectible. Well, 2 people hooked me up with plug-and plays. I'm actually really excited here. Adam from Lucky Fun Time Video Games had one in his store and sent it to me, which was awesome. And then also Sean with the Commodore group down in Vancouver hooked me up with one down in Portland. Now you're probably asking yourself, why do I need 2? Well, the cool thing is that when they built that plug-and play, they actually pretty much put an entire Commodore 64 in that thing. So what you can do is, and this is what my plan is, I'm going to keep one just the way it's meant to be played. So I'm just going to keep that on the side and not mess with it. But the other one, I'm going to crack it open and mod it. And what you can do is, and people have done this, is that you can actually hook a real floppy drive to it, a real cassette drive, a real monitor, joystick, all this other stuff. So that's my plan with those, and I just want to thank you guys for hooking me up. In addition to those plug and plays, I also got another one. Now Chuck, who runs Recycled Gamer, hooked me up with this one, and that is a mini Pac-Man plug and play. And it's actually pretty similar to another one that I own. It actually, I'm pretty sure it has the exact same games on it. But it just feels and controls really well. This is a great little plug and play. As a matter of fact, the other night I was kicking ass in Dig Dug. I was like unstoppable. It was awesome. So thank you, Chuck. Some other games I picked up recently. I did a trade with my buddy Reggie, and he got me a copy of Earth Defense Force on the Super Nintendo. Hard case here. I think, did he print this? I have no idea. Anyways, he knows I like shooters, and so this is a copy of Earth Defense Force. Thanks, Reggie. Also, Corey, good friend of ours who runs classics down in Longview, hooked me up with a bunch of stuff. I'm only going to show you one thing here. Now, this is a PSP game with a little camera that you can attach to it. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with this, and this software is completely in Japanese. I can't understand a thing. Basically what you can do with this is you can edit, you can shoot video, you can shoot stills, you can edit video. I'm not really sure why Sony made this, and you know, maybe they thought it would take off. I have no idea, but it you know, he knows I like to collect PSP games, and so he thought this would be perfect for my collection. Speaking of PSP games, I've been buying quite a few of them at GameStop whenever they have sales. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I've been looking for this one for a while. It's Flat Out Head On. This is an awesome racing game. I've been playing a ton. Super fun, great graphics for the PSP. I'm kind of blown away by it, so it's cool to own that. Also, I mentioned Chuck earlier, and he donated a game. It's called God's Eater Burst, and it looks like a Japanese brawler or beat 'em up. And I know a lot of people love this game. It's a little bit of a hidden gem on the PSP, so it's cool to own this. I have no idea if I'm going to be any good at it or not. I usually suck at these kind of games, but beautiful artwork. I met up with a fan at Portland Expo who donated some really cool stuff to me. I can't show you everything because a lot of it's for I Hate You episodes, but I'm going to show you a couple things that she threw in there. And one of the is pretty interesting. She donated a Wii to my collection, which is unmodded, which is awesome, so I can get in the Wii store and maybe buy some games. But she also donated this game, so weird. It's called Let's Tap. Now this is a rhythm game where what you do is you lay the controller flat on the table and then you tap the table almost like a drummer to play the game. So I haven't tried it yet, but seems kind of weird and interesting. She also threw in a GameCube game that I've been looking for quite a while. It's called Battalion Wars. And you know, my GameCube collection is getting pretty solid, and this is one of the few titles actually I had on my list to add to it, so I'm really happy that she included that. And in addition to that, I also found another GameCube game that I've been looking for a while. I did a trade for this one. Chibi Robo. Chibi Robo. I hope I'm saying that right. Chibi Robo. So a lot of people say it's totally bizarre, kind of like a hidden gem on the GameCube. Awesome. While in Portland, we met up with a bunch of people who create YouTube videos, including Greg from Arcade Impossible. Now, he knows that I love advanced Dungeons & Dragons games, especially by SSI, and so he had a copy of Heroes of the Lance for me. This is for the Commodore 64. And man, I'll tell you what, these games, they just bring me back to my high school. I used to play these games all the time. So cool to have these back in my collection. And one day I'm just gonna have them all. You know, just to have them all would be so amazing. In addition to that, I found a bunch of really cool other games, including Stellar 7 from Dynamics. Now, this is a company that was part of the Sierra family, and this was a really cool game back in the day. Dynamics just knocked it out of the park making great games like this. And this is kind of an update to, I guess, Battlezone. Battlezone was a really early vector graphics game in arcades, and this was kind of their take on it, you know. When was this game made? Like 1990, so it's just it's a cool early Dynamics game, and it's cool to have it in my collection. I was also really excited to find a copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy from Infocom. This is one of the best text adventures ever made. Now, I didn't realize this at the time that there was two versions of this. There was a thin box, I guess it's almost like a record, and then there's this one which has all the feelies in it. So this was amazing. It not only does it have like this great book in the beginning of it, but it also comes with a microscopic space fleet in here. Also a ball of fluff, and it also has these peril sensitive sunglasses and a bunch more stuff in here. Just such a great collectible game. I'm so glad to have that in my collection. In addition to that, I found a copy of The Bard's Tale 3, The Thief of Fate. The Bard's Tale games were some of the best. Oh my God, I used to love playing these on my Commodore 64. So cool to own this, in great shape. One of my all-time favorite Commodore 64 games, well actually two of them, I found both at the expo at Sean's booth. And dude, this game was so awesome back in the day. Archon 2, so good, so good. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours I spent playing Archon 2. So good. Did I mention it was so good? So it's really exciting to finally own this. I didn't own it. I think I had like a, pirated copy of it. Don't tell my mom. But now I own it, so it's so awesome. And then one of my all-time favorite role-playing games back on the Commodore. I don't know if anybody remembers this but me, but it was awesome. It was by Electronic Arts, called Legacy of the Ancients. And this game was, I guess it was kind of similar to the Ultima series. And today it's really dated. I don't care, man. Look at that artwork. It's so beautiful. And again, just takes me back to my childhood. While in Portland, a guy came up to me, and his name's Jeremy, and he asked me to sign a game. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll sign a game, And he's like, well, I found it at a garage sale, and he showed it to me. I was like, what? What is that? And he gave me one, and that is the extremely rare. I think there's only 2 copies in the world. It is MetalJesusRocks, The Quest for the Record of Legend. So Jeremy created this game. I guess he's an art student, and so he created this entire thing, and I was like really blown away. We both were. Drunken Master Paul was there as well. And he just did an amazing job. It basically has the NES cartridge in here with a custom label, the front and back, and also there's a printed manual in here. And I gotta tell you, I was kind of blown away because the littlest detail in here is just amazing. Like he knows everything about my channel. So he, like how to play in here. He's got me, he's got my wife Rebecca, he's got Drunken Master Paul. He talks about the screen layout. The power-up items are based on our Gamer Eats episode. So there's pastry pockets, there's a ramen lasagna, cup of gaseous death, nachos. Enemies are the game, are other collectors. And it just goes on and on and on. So I was really blown away, Jeremy. This is so cool. Thank you very much for doing that. All right, and then finally, you guys know that I'm into music, so I want to show you some quick little music things I found, and they're both by the same band. And I don't know if anybody's going to care about this but me, but I think it's kind of cool. So while down at Corey's at Classics, he had basically Kiss Alive 2 on 8-track. Now, I don't think this is worth much, to be honest. I don't really care. I just think it's so cool to see old 8-tracks again. I mean, this is an awesome album. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome, but 8-tracks kind of suck. But still, you know, it's part of the 70s, man. This is what you listen to in your car. Your car would have an 8-track player. As a matter of fact, we used to have a car that had an 8-track player. My dad's 71 Mustang Mach 1 had an 8-track player in it. So if we still had that, I could play this 8-track. It's I don't know if anybody cares about this but me. And speaking of cheese from Kiss, at that estate sale I mentioned earlier, they had the VHS copy of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Oh dear God. If you are a Kiss fan and you are familiar with this, you're groaning right now because this is so bad. But you know what? Again, growing up, I thought this sucked too. But it's so interesting. It basically what this was a TV movie that Kiss made with Hanna-Barbera. And it's terrible. It's so bad it's good. I mean, it's just one of those movies. Actually, this probably explains one of my obsessions with really bad movies is the fact that I watch this quite a bit. I can quote this whole thing. It's not right. It's not right. But it's cool to find the VHS. All right, well, there are some of the games that I've added to my collection. And, you know, again, as always, I'm kind of blown away by the people who donate to my channel. Not only just donate, but you guys pay attention to the little details, which is so fun. I mean, I can't tell you how exciting it was to go to Portland and meet some of you and just see that look in your eye, like you were so excited with these videos that I make. And I gotta tell you, it was really awesome for me and Drunken Master Paul. We had such a great time. Thank you everyone who donates to this channel. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I could have shown twice as much stuff. But anyways, as always, I want to thank you for watching my channel and thank you very much for subscribing. Take care.